Hi, this is Gary Mintchell, and this is a new experiment, video blogging, although I'm not going to go as long as I do in my blog. And I tried to do and set this whole thing up last week when I was in Orlando. Couldn't quite figure it out, so I've got a little bit of time here on Monday morning on June the 9th in my office here in Sydney, Ohio. And I thought I'd take a little bit of time and talk about my last two travels. And the Tuesday after Memorial Day, I was off to Atlanta, and I was actually visiting several companies and spent a whole day with Siemens Energy and Automation in Alpharetta and Norcross down in the Atlanta suburbs. And several reasons for that. They're a big company, they're doing a lot of stuff, and they're actually hiring some really top quality marketing people. And for the first time since I've been an editor, and that goes back 10 years now, they really look like in North America they're getting their marketing act together, actually for several years now, and maybe 3 or so. It's really been picking up. They've tried different kinds of things, and there's been different different marketing approaches, shall we say, and different ways of getting information out. And I think some of the hardest learning for a lot of the people is that it's just different in North America than in Europe. In Germany and Germanic-speaking countries and much of other rest of Europe, Siemens is huge, and they can call a lot of shots. They can get a different relationship with trade press. Of course, trade press is different in Europe anyway than it is in North America. But things are different, and in North America, it's because Rockwell is more, obviously Rockwell is more dominant here. And so they're not as dominant. It takes a different marketing approach. And they're really working on that, doing some cool stuff. I went down to Mexico a few weeks ago to see a preview of what's called the Exciter Dome, which is a building, if you will. Building gathering place is a colloquial translation of the word dome in German. Although in English they're going to call it D-O-M-E, dome, as in a building, I guess. But that's okay. And this is reminiscent of the Exciter train that they did, and I forgot to look it up, but about 4 or 5 years ago. This is much better. This is taking that whole concept to a new level. Those of you that go see it, and it starts in Chicago the end of July, travels around the United States for quite some, well, and some Canada too, for several months. So you'll have a chance to see it, and very interesting, and much better presentation than in the last one. For one thing, it's got tons of products in it. So that's way cool. That's good. So anyway, I went to see Siemens, and then I also made some stops. Went over to see AutomationDirect, and they're becoming a huge master distributor, almost a Granger over the web or something, I suppose. But they still develop PLCs, and they have some PLC people and in development, and they promised me that someday I'll be seeing some new products in the whole PLC line as they upgrade their pretty extensive line of PLCs and controllers and modules and so on. So I expect to see more coming up from them later from a technology viewpoint too. They have some great technology people that I used to interview and I haven't seen for a while, and I told them we need to catch up on that. Then I made another stop off at a company called B&R Automation. It's an Austrian company with headquarters in the U.S. Down in that Atlanta area. And they're making great strides also as they transplant their European heritage over to North America, and it's working out quite well. Alex down there, their marketing communications manager, told me that they're adding people, they're adding product managers, doing some new marketing things. They're very OEM focused, and so they go out after machine builders of various sorts, and they're picking up quite well, she assures me, and if they're hiring people, they must be doing pretty well. So weekend doing that, and then headed off to Orlando to the Rockwell Software RSTechEd, and this is the 11th annual event, but it's changed a lot. I went 2 years ago and was kind of like the only editor and kind of snuck in the back door and met a few people, sat in some technical sessions, which were great. I wish I could have sat in more technical sessions at this one, but there's only so much you can do. But it was a fantastic thing. They had 1,600 people registered from 48 countries. I heard lots of languages spoken in the hallways. Very interesting. used to be just pretty much for distributors and internal people. They started bringing in some customers. You can definitely see the Kevin Roach influence. Some of the same, well, and Matt Bauer, who's director of marketing, same idea they took to the Mesa organization years ago, when it was kind of just a like a little club where the vendors got together and talked, and they started bringing customers into that too, and getting customer members and so on. Well, similarly with their main business, Rockwell Software, bringing in lots of customers. I saw lots of distributors and some distributor friends that I knew back in my days of selling that stuff, and I saw a bunch of other stuff going on. Lots of customers though too, and lots of distributors, lots of Rockwell Software people, and very, very interesting. Concurrently with RSTechEd, they run a one-day forum or summit where they get a number of people together, and it's called Manufacturing 2.0. This is the second year they did that, and they try to get CIOs and other executives mostly from their customers, but from a prospect is fine too. And they have a series of really good presentations, and in a more or less informal setting. You make a presentation, but there's a lot of Q&A. They had Bruce Richardson, who's the Chief Research Officer at AMR Research, an analyst firm, as the MC and lead question guy, and that's good. I've been to some of these where the MC doesn't do quite as good a job, and I think I got kicked out of one gig when I was asked to be moderator of a thing, and I was asking the questions, and then they didn't ask me back, so I thought, well, maybe they didn't want questions asked. But Bruce did a superb job with the Q&As, and there was some opportunity for questions from us out in the audience, and there's only a couple of editors invited. I was really proud to be one of them, and to be able to sit in there and listen to some high-level presentations. Probably best of all, the Kevin Roach, the VP, and I don't know what his official title is. He's Vice President of Software. He's kind of like the general manager of the software division, and he gave the initial keynote and also did the GWiz software demo as part of it, and he laid out the vision and the plan of Rockwell Software. The second day keynote was Alvin Toffler, who wrote Future Shock and The Third Wave and many other books, and he was fleshing out his whole ideas of what's going on with the third wave. And if you're not familiar with the third wave, or why there's even three waves, the first wave would be agriculture. That's the source of wealth in an economy or in a society. So it started out with agriculture and land owning. So if you own land, that was the means of production, if you will, and agriculture was important. And that probably lasted 10,000 years. And up until about 1650 to 1700 AD, and that's when we started the whole manufacturing thing. When men started to look and say, yeah, we've had craftsmen for many years, maybe thousands of years. We've had craftsmen. They could chip the arrowheads, or they could start to form steel or bronze or whatever. And they could work with things, and pretty soon people said, people want things, and we're buying all kinds of stuff. I need to figure a better way to make them. So they started figuring out, and actually early automation and technology and how we make things, and we wound up with a manufacturing economy. So we still have agriculture. There's still wealth in agriculture to a degree. I live in a rural area with a lot of farmers, but that's not really the basis of wealth for the society. Manufacturing became the basis of wealth for the society. Now, we are in the throes of a transition, started probably 50 years ago. I mean, who knows? We won't know until we look back. But approximately 50 years ago, and the writings of Peter Drucker pointed out a lot of this too. But Toffler also is writing about this, and this would be the third wave, and the third wave is the knowledge economy. What's the source of wealth now? The source of wealth is knowledge. And as he looked across the audience of software geeks sitting there at RSTechEd, he says, and I thank all of you for being leading roles as we develop. The third wave is something under development. We're figuring it out right now as we go. And we try this and we try that. We got the internet and we've got the web and what all is working and all that kind of thing. And as Toffler looked at these people sitting out in front of him at RSTechEd and said, you are among the leaders of this new economy that's coming out, this knowledge economy.